This is a story about two dinner plates. One plate has 100 peas on it, and the other has 3 potatoes on it. If you're trying to balance these plates, the plate with the peas takes some jockeying to prevent any of the peas from falling off. But hey, if one does happen to roll off the plate, no bigs. It was just a pea, and besides, you've got 99 other ones. The potatoes, they're a whole other story, of course. You've only got 3 potatoes to worry about. But boy, oh boy, if one falls off, it's going to be a problem. The peas and potatoes in this little scenario are representative of the tasks we all have on our plates on the daily. Some people have 100 peas they're trying to wrangle, and some people have those 3 potatoes they're trying to manage. But most of us have a mixed plate with varying compositions of little trite tasks and big long-range projects. On this episode, Think Significantly, we're going to talk about prioritization, how we do it, how we could do it, and how productivity fits into the prioritization equation. Welcome, everyone. I am Melissa, and as per the usual, I am joined by my co-host, Pete, the Productive.
Whoa, you flatter me. I don't know about that moniker, but I appreciate the ego boost.
Well, Pete, I'm just taking from what you said to me the other day in regards to prioritization that once I get going, I'm okay.
Yes, I did say that, but it's the getting going part that gets me.
All right, so why don't we start with how we each prioritize? Because this is such a broad topic, let me start with a very specific question. And that is, do you eat the frog? And by that, I mean, do you get the most uncomfortable, irritating, most I don't want to do this task thing out of the way first, or do you lead up to it?
Boy, am I glad that you explained that, because here I am thinking, have I ever eaten frog?
I mean, you're a worldly lad. It seems like something you've proudly done. Tastes like chicken, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm talking about the proverbial frog.
Okay, all right. So to be clear, my choices are, do I get the unsavory task out of the way first, or do I procrastinate and put it off until later?
Yes, precisely. Do you need some runway, some level of warm up before you dive headlong into those tasks that you'd rather not do?
Okay, well, my answer is going to be equally as mystifying as your frog analogy, because I'm going to say that it depends. I'm an eat the frog type of guy if there's a deadline to eat the frog. If that frog needs to be eaten by 9 a.m., you better believe that he's going to get eaten for breakfast, probably with a little truff sauce.
Truff hot sauce, if you are listening, please consider being our sponsor.
I am absolutely positive we can work that into our logo. But before we deviate too far, do you eat the frog, Melissa?
Okay, well, I'm going to say it also depends, and not just because you couldn't come to an answer earlier. All right. I'm going to say it depends specifically on the day of the work week.
Oh.
Because straight up on Monday, I'm not an eat the frog type of employee. I'm I work here employee. I'm like let's try how to remember how to work the copier employee. But on Tuesday, I feel as if I remember what it is that I'm paid to do at work. And like by 6 a.m., I'm cooking with some Crisco on that Tuesday morning, right? And I can definitely be seen eating some frog at my desk.
I had this visual suddenly of you with your little napkin in your lap and your little salt and pepper shakers.
But I do like to be as hoity-toity as they come when I'm chowing down on amphibian. I like to keep it classy. All right, so let me loop back to this idea that you brought up about deadlines. You are very wed to deadlines. You self-professed deadline,
right.
Deadline wetter you.
Right.
So I have to ask, are you a procrastinator, or are you someone who finishes tasks way before they're due?
Well, I hate to be all wishy-washy every time you ask me a question, but again, it depends. The things I'm passionate about, I'll work tirelessly on. And if I take them to the deadline, it's because I'm constantly refining them to make them better. But if it's something I'm not excited about, I'm putting that off. Partly because I don't want to do it, right? I mean, it's right there in the way we're defining it. I don't want to do it. But more importantly, I don't want to work on it and put effort into it and actually do it only to find out that it didn't need to be done or some aspect of it changed and I have to redo it.
That's interesting. Just today, I read something on the Facebook that said that if you are procrastinating, like dig a little deeper and like ask yourself why. It's like you're, you don't want to do it. It's boring. You're afraid, like all kinds of things. But yeah, interesting. So I myself am what would be known as an anti-procrastinator because I hate that feeling of having something lingering over my head. So if you need a visual, I am the person who is nibbling away at the potatoes on my plate all week long. Slow and steady wins the race is definitely my mantra.
Oh, no. That sounds like one of the inner circles of hell to me. I'll tell you, because I'm a completionist. I like to do the whole thing all at once, often to my demise, honestly.
Why is it to your demise?
All right. Well, let me paint the scene. If I find an author I like, I want to read all their books. And I say one, but it's part one and part compulsion on my part. Like my subconscious wants this thing and I feel urges to take actions to make it so. And this has been something I've applied in the past to baseball cards, music CDs, when they were a thing. Thank you, Columbia House. Comic books, movies by a certain director, Funko Pops.
So you're the guy that Pokemon markets to when they say, gotta catch them all.
For the record, I've never ever been a Pokemon guy, but yeah, to that extent, it definitely applies to me. I've never been able to quit a book, and I can only think of 2 movies that I didn't watch all the way through to the credits. And when I apply this to projects or other tasks, it hinders my ability to multitask. Once I start something, I want to see it through to the end before starting on something new.
Oh, you are in it to win it then.
Yeah, but are you not? I mean, I definitely know some things that you do all of. You've got a similar go big or go home vibe about you.
Oh, I'm definitely a go big or go home person, but I go home about as much as I go big. So I am governed by the metric of time well spent. If I'm not feeling a book or movie, I don't soldier on. I got other things I need to do with my day.
I suddenly have a visual of Jamie Lee Curtis as Lindsay Lohan's mom in Freaky Friday right before she drives off yelling, "Make good choices."
Make good choices. Yes, I'm all about that. I'm actually very careful about what I put on my to-do list because once it's on there, I get a little automaton about completing my task. I'm a little rigid in my ways, I must confess.
But I mean, yeah, but you pack an enormous amount into a day.
I do, but at what expense? Really, if we're being frank here.
Well, before we lapse into a counseling session here, we should probably introduce the Eisenhower principle. How's that?
That's a great call. So start us off, Pete, would you?
Sure. The Eisenhower principle is said to be what President Dwight D. Eisenhower used to organize his workload and priorities. In a 1954 speech, President Eisenhower was quoting Dr. J. Roscoe Miller, the president of Northwestern University, when he said, "I have 2 kinds of problems, the urgent and the important. The urgent are not important, and the important are never urgent."
So the takeaway here is that we have to spend our time on the important ones, not just the ones that suddenly crop up.
Yeah, and the old adage, poor planning on your part does not necessitate an emergency on mine, actually has some merit.
As much as I hate what I call coffee cup wisdom, those pithy little sayings that we put on our coffee cups to signal passive aggressively our disdain. Yeah, right. I do think it's actually applicable here. That poor planning on the part. I think it has, I think it means something.
Yeah, no, and I think the distinction here is that important activities have an outcome that lead us to achieving our goals. So whether these are professional or personal doesn't matter. Whereas urgent activities demand immediate attention and honestly are usually associated with achieving somebody else's goals.
Oh, and yeah, that was a good way of phrasing that. We often get sucked into dealing with them because the consequences of not dealing with them are like immediate, right? Someone like breathing down your neck.
Yeah, or so we're led to believe. I mean, we get drawn into something that I read about recently called hallucinated urgency. Have you heard of this?
Pete, I do think I'm the one who sent you that article. Yes, the hallucinated urgency. I was like, oh my gosh,
Could
this
very well
explains
be.
my entire workday. Yes, it's a concept Juliet Funt coined. We're working Peters.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we're working people, which would be all of us, to include
Mhm.
you, Peter. Yeah, fall prey to this mirage where we think that every assignment that gets handed to us has to be done immediately. And if we're in charge of people, we work them into a froth as well. So wait, I'm going to do a visual real fast because
Okay.
I'm inspired by our peas and potatoes. So you
Okay.
know that thing where kids do where they make their hands into like little potatoes and they stack them? But
Yes.
what
Yeah.
happens
Yeah.
is the one on the bottom just goes to
Right.
the top and
Yeah,
the one
yeah,
on the
yeah.
bottom goes to the top and you make no progress.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That is what this is. That is what this is.
Sure,
Yes.
because you're always replacing
Your
one thing with
potato.
another. Right.
Exactly. Yes.
Right. Because rarely do these things need to actually be accomplished this very second.
Exactly.
And she attributes this false idea that everything has to be done right now with how many people are feeling burnt out at work.
Yeah. And so to combat that, she advocates for scheduling time during the day, even if just for a few minutes, to allow yourself to brainstorm, to think freely, just to take a pause.
Think freely or think significantly.
Oh, yes. The other name for the podcast that we were toying with originally. Yes. 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 Well, you know how I have my little meeting with myself. I told you this before. Every morning
You have,
I
yeah.
have a little meeting with myself.
Right.
So I'm at least doing this. I don't know if it's working, but,
Oh,
but I'm trying.
As a impartial observer, I would say it's working unbelievably well in your case. But and I need to I think it's working so well for you that I feel like I'm encouraged to incorporate it into my routine as well. So please don't doubt the effectiveness of taking a few minutes to get your thoughts together.
So you've heard it from Juliet Funt and now Melissa.
That's right.
Yes.
And I'm not sure really which one is more reliable.
She probably has some cred. I'm just like, hey,
Well,
I gotta.
if she wants to come on and talk about it with us, I'm sure we'd love to have her.
If this podcast makes it to Julia Funt, we've made it, man. We don't have to worry about truff sauce. We've got Julia. Yeah. All right. Get us back on track, Pete.
Yeah, our most corporate episode to date. All right. So back to the Eisenhower principle. Because we want to prove that not everything has to be done ASAP. We'll put this visual up on social media, but essentially it consists of a 2x2 grid. And you have urgent and not urgent on one axis and important or not important on the other axis.
See, like you're completely setting me up for like a joke here because I thought it was Axis versus Allies when we're talking about Eisenhower. Sorry.
And I figured if we started talking about Ike, you wouldn't be able to resist a military history joke, and you did not disappoint.
I mean, I thought it was funny. So you're like, have you heard our humor podcast? Go back to that. All right.
Right. Okay. So back on track. So essentially, you have 4 combinations that any task can be: important and urgent, important and not urgent, not important but urgent, and not important and not urgent.
I feel like it's going to be so much better when people can see the visual.
It is going to be so much easier.
That's
my
right.
Goodness.
So yes, exactly.
How do I always get stuck describing these things, by the way? Next time,
right? Like, toss you the hot potato. You're like, whoa, yeah, right. You're like, paint me a picture if you would, because I can't. I don't butter you up until you use descriptive language just so I can end up talking about visuals that nobody can see. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's fair.
All right.
That's
so
fair.
The important part is not all these freaking labels or this 2x2 grid that you just trying to conjure up in your head as you're driving through rush hour traffic. No, the important part is there is an approved solution for dealing with each of these situations. So let me break it down to you, to you, one of those prepositions. All right. So for the important and urgent, you got to do those now.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Because they mean something often to both you and to others.
Exactly. Right. high stakes. Okay, so now you're going to have important, but not so urgent.
Right. And for those, you're going to find some time on your schedule where you can get them done.
And that is really where you want to spend your time getting those, where you really want to spend your time, because they almost always are in support of your long-term goals. Those are like your long-term projects, right? That's what those are. Those are important. Right. You've put stock in them. They have value, but nobody needs the code to the nuclear missile silo right then.
Right. They're the big things. They're the potatoes on your plate.
Right. Oh, well, thank you for looping us back to that. Yes, they're the potatoes. Why didn't I think of this? Yes. Yes. Very good. Thank you.
And to follow up, that for the not important but urgent, you want to try to delegate those tasks as much as possible.
And if you can't delegate those tasks, either because like sometimes you're a party of one, right? I realize not everyone has like a staff, right? Or because not everyone has people.
Right, like us. I mean, we've got a whole production crew.
Right, exactly. Maybe you don't have the people, or maybe because they require a level of expertise that only you can provide. Then on those tasks, you should at least try to triage them and complete them after those things that are important, not urgent. Because remember, those are in support of your long-range goals, you personally.
Right. It's the equivalent of putting on your mask first on an aircraft. Yeah.
I could see how you could say that. Absolutely right. You got to take care of self before you can take care of others. Makes total sense.
Right. Which brings us to the last category, the not important and not urgent type tasks.
Delete.
Right. And that's haha funny, but that's the approved solution for dealing with those sorts of tasks. If there is no value added in them, either for yourself or someone else, why in the world would you spend time working on them?
You make a very compelling argument, my friend. I would like to loop back to something that we alluded to at the top of the podcast that is super critical to being productive. And ready?
Yep.
That is starting.
Ooh,
because even the Eisenhower principle is not going to help you out if you cannot get out of neutral.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, the getting started part is the part that gets me. And I think it gets a lot of people. I don't think I'm unique in that. I think getting started is the biggest hurdle for a lot of people, because once you have momentum, a lot of our tasks will take care of themselves.
Agreed. So how do we get into the groove? Are you familiar with the Fly Lady by chance? Do you know who that is?
I'm familiar with an old lady who swallowed a fly.
No, not her.
I don't know why she swallowed that fly.
Not her, Pete.
Not
her.
Okay. Well, is she related to the frog by chance?
All right, I'm cutting you off. No more. I can't serve you anymore. No, not to my knowledge. No, the Fly Lady gives advice work about cleaning and decluttering your home, man. She's all about like chore routines. So the reason I bring her up is that she believes, amongst probably many things, I don't know her personally, that a sparkling sink is the key to a happier, more organized kitchen.
So I don't need to clean my entire house. I just need to clean my kitchen sink. Dude, I like this lady.
No, you need to clean your whole house. That's true. Yes, that's still the standard. But her philosophy is, if you start with the sink, it motivates you to do one more thing. So, and that propels you then towards something else. And it's like if you give a mouse a cookie story, but like with getting stuff done.
Okay. I can see this. Often it's the small incremental tasks that have gotten the ball rolling for me too.
Yeah. And she also has offered the sage advice that we don't need to declutter our entire homes, right? Like that spark joy lady who that gives me such anxiety to think I'd have to like
make a decision on the spot.
Like you dump your entire house into the middle of your living room and then 3 days later, everything's organized. Yeah. That is daunting to me, right?
Yeah, you're back to living on egg crates. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. But her philosophy is that what we can do is set a timer for 15 minutes and do what we can decluttering wise within those 15 minutes. Now, I myself abide by the 10-minute tidy. Yes, sure. I've always called it that. Called it that for 20 years now. Trademark, but I mean, who am I to question the Fly Lady? I don't have an advice column. I just got this freaking podcast.
You need to trademark that and write a book.
10-minute tidy.
Yeah. We'll
Yes.
get you on a reality show yet.
Which has been my goal in life.
I know. I'm trying to make this happen for you. Okay, so just to ensure I'm tracking, even though you're relaying information on household chores, her concept could easily extend to any task you have ahead of you.
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, these micro tasks are not just a method to get started, but they're like a way to track your progress.
Right, sure, I can totally see that. Breaking down tasks into their micro bits helps to measure incremental progress. So let's stick with the kitchen metaphor since that's where we're at. If I'm going to remodel the kitchen, the first thing I'm going to want to do is break that big project down into little steps.
Okay, so Pete, I was just trying to bring up the elephant, like how do we eat an elephant one bite at a time? But now we're like on the kitchen.
What the
Okay.
hell?
Right. I always say that.
Frog before, now we're eating elephant?
Dude, yeah, it's a smorgasbord. Okay, yes, it is. All right. Anyways, we'll stick with the remote so I don't misalign the animals tonight or create like a zoo going on. Yes. Okay, so we got the kitchen remodeling. Okay. So by breaking down a large task into its component parts, we can not only get a better grasp on how long it's going to take, but we can more closely measure our progress. Because on this kitchen remodel that you got going on,
Right.
It's like that's the only task that you're tracking, kitchen remodel at all, like big picture. You really don't know how close you are to getting done until like you're like sweeping up the last bit of the IKEA box, the little niblets that are left over, and then you're like, oh crap, look, I'm done.
Yeah, and it's and for sure, I mean, unless you've got unlimited resources, it's not a one-day job, right? That's going to be something that's going to take time, and if you break it down to say tackling one mini project a month, you can track your progress through this process. So you say, this month I'm gonna replace an appliance, and then next month I'm gonna install a new floor, and then I'm gonna change the countertops the month after that, and so on. Then you not only give yourself the chance to work on it mentally for a longer time, giving you the opportunity to refine the idea in your head, but then you also build in some flexibility to react if there's something you need but hadn't anticipated.
Oh my gosh. And that flexibility, that like room for cream, as I call it, can totally be the difference between success and frustration. Trying to do anything in one go only works if you've got like flawless planning. Any surprise shifts, like an already tight timeline from difficult to impossible. Like one delayed delivery and you're like cranky pants.
Right. You spoken like a true systems engineer.
Well, thank you. So I resemble that remark. Yes. All right. So we've covered quite some territory today.
And I would consider everything that we've done to be important, though not necessarily urgent.
Thank you for putting that into one of the boxes on the 2x2 matrix. Yes, that I can't see in my head because I'm not a visual person like that. Yes, very good. So as we wrap this up, I do want to say that whether we realize it or not, we all prioritize. And you might have not have thought about it in a peas and potatoes way, or like in terms of a frog or an elephant.
or the elephant is still getting me. Or in an important, not important way, or an urgent, not urgent way.
But you are absolutely prioritizing where you spend your time on the daily.
And if you pull back the lid on that just a smidge, you'll have a pretty accurate picture of what it is that you value.
Oh my. You spend time doing the things that you value. That is very hella deep, as the kids don't ever say anymore. Yes. Wow.
Yeah, I think once you said it, it died. Yeah.
Right. They're like, never again. Take that hashtag off. Yeah. So now my mind is like racing around in that Urkel sort of, do I do that? Like sort of way. But I think you're spot on. Like, I'm going to have to gnaw on that for a few days. Like, Pete, expect some follow-up conversation on that. You spend time doing the things that you value.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you what, let me toss one more your way to just really round out your your plate, since we're gonna be all food metaphor in this one.
Okay.
While you mull that over, if you don't prioritize your life, someone else will.
Well, I believe that is all the thought-provoking commentary that one can take for one day. So yeah, that hallucination urgency that you spoke of earlier, it's coming right to the front. All right. Like, who's making me feel that way? Yes.
Right.
So that being said, Pete and I would love it if you continued the conversation with us on social media. Heck, Pete and I would be thrilled if you just continued this conversation in your own spheres. We'd love to hear how you prioritize the good, bad, ugly, and of course, any other food metaphors you might have and what other animals you might be eating. Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at ThinkSigPod, or on our Facebook page by searching for Think Significantly. And we'd love to hear you tell us what topics you want to hear us talk about next.
Oh, and don't forget, Pete, we're on the LinkedIn too, man.
We are now on the LinkedIn too. Yes.
Yes. Not on just the Insta. It's a
That's
whole new crowd.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're looking for a little respectability. We're professionals.
There you go. But our Instagram is so pretty. Sometimes I just go to it and I'm like, so pretty. All right. Anyways, it makes me think significantly. Yes, it calms me down. I will put it that way. It's just very visually appealing. All right.
That's
Pete,
awesome. Good.
Yeah, right. Thanks, Pete. Pete and I'll be back. If you didn't know, Pete does the Instagram. All right. So Pete and I'll be back to discuss another topic next week. And until then, we encourage you to continue thinking significantly about the world around you.